The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
You get up in the morning and you doom scroll through things, and although I will say this, the last few days you woke up thinking there might be news. Just saying. There will be news sometime, just so you know, there will be news.
Can we get your reaction to President Trump blaming the radical left for what happened to Charlie Kirk yesterday?
Well, look, the bottom line is this is a time that all Americans should come together and feel and mourn what happened. Violence, which affects so many different people of so many different political persuasions, is an affliction of America. And coming together is what we ought to be doing, not pointing fingers of blame.
This moment requires leadership that brings the American people together as opposed to trying to further divide us. Political violence in any form against any American is unacceptable, should be denounced by everyone, and moving forward, we have to figure out a better way to come together, not as Democrats or Republicans, but as Americans.
James Golden, my friends, welcome. 9/11. 24 years ago, on this date, my friend, America was attacked by terrorists, the worst attack on American soil. Almost 3,000 human beings murdered in horrific fashion by ideological terrorists. A little over 24 hours ago, America was attacked again, this time from within, by someone presumably with an ideological perspective submerged and embraced in evil. During the time that has followed from the past 24 hours, the unchecked hatred that inhabits the bodies and minds of some of the creatures on this planet posing as human beings have been on full display on social media sites that go worldwide. We have some of those. I'm still debating if I want to even play them. Some of them are so vile. It has been an emotional roller coaster, one that started down and then went down further. Still searching somehow through all this despair and downness for a light of optimism through these heavy clouds, thinking, what is becoming of this nation? Yet, somewhere out there, I do think that there is optimism. Optimism to reflect on the big picture. Now, none of us, not one of us, comes onto this earth as a place that will be our permanent home. In the vast expanse of all that is, of infinity, the vast expanse of space-time, our lives here on this planet Earth are at best incredibly short. Even if you just measure it against, not even infinity, but just against what science tells us the lifetime is of this Earth so far, over 4 billion years, the time that we, each of us, will spend on this Earth seems like mere seconds in comparison. And we are not in a position intellectually, we're not in a position, more importantly than that, spiritually, to really see the big picture of this creation. But this country that we have so much invested in is still in its infancy. We're not even a toddler among the civilizations that have come and appeared on this earth and in some cases have perished already. For all of the heartaches, and yesterday was a day full of heartaches, and some of those heartaches continue today when you look and you see what some people in this country are saying and what they're doing and the celebrations that are taking place in some quarters. For all the heartaches over the evil, there's also an enduring legacy of good that still thrives, that still grows. Charlie Kirk, 31 years old, didn't finish college himself, but he spent more time educating people on college campuses around this country than many esteemed professors will do in their entire lifetimes. Was he perfect? No. There were some things I disagreed with Charlie about, particularly some of the things he said about Martin Luther King Jr. I found them profoundly, to me, misinformed. But wasn't perfect, but was he good? Yes, he was. He said decent. He had a talent that was unique to his being, and he lived his life full of purpose until the very moment that life was snatched so viciously away from him. He was living his life full of purpose. He created an organization that didn't just reach thousands, they reached millions. And here's a note of optimism, a light. The light is going to be passed on. To what ends? I don't know. What will Turning Point look like in the years to come? Don't know. But we can be hopeful that many of the things that Charlie talked about, advocated for, the love that he had of this nation, which there's no doubt about that. His openness in wanting to debate issues. And when you enter a debate, you don't just talk at people, you also listen, and he did both. He was able to defend his beliefs. And all of that, beyond the hateful chatter from some of these voices on social media, will go on. All of us, folks, all of us have to go. As I said, we don't come here making Earth our permanent home. It's not our permanent home. This is a stop along the way. Our coming and going, many of us believe, was decided upon the moment that we came, the moment that we will go, before we even took birth in this human form, in this world of duality, this world of good, evil, this world of light, darkness, what some people call the yin, the yang, all of that. But we all will go. What is it from our lives that will stay? The impact that this 31-year-old had will stay, perhaps, and resonate beyond his own brief lifetime. How do we know that's possible? We know it's possible because we know about the all too brief voice and life of a 33-year-old that still resonates over 2,000 years after he was murdered. It's possible that because of the efforts, the willingness to debate, the willingness to engage people, that this country can return to a better place. Also possible because the hopes, the prayers, the actions of people will not let these values that we hold be stolen from our society by demonic forces. Charlie Kirk spent his lifetime on earth with courage, conviction, and with purpose. And above all, I hope, ladies and gentlemen, that he is remembered for that. James Golden, Bo Snerdley. We'll be back in a moment.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Never forget, my friends. Join the Tunnel to Towers Foundation on its mission to do good in honor of America's heroes. Donate $11 a month at T2T.org. That's T, the number 2, T.org. Red Apple Networks and the Tunnel to Towers Foundation remembers 9/11 24 years later. With me is Rudy Washington, who was commissioner of New York City's Department of Business Services and then deputy mayor for Community Development and Business Services until 2001. And Rudy, you spent a lot of time on the ground following those horrific attacks on America some 24 years ago. Does it seem like yesterday, or does it now seem like a long time ago, Rudy?
No, it seems like yesterday. And Bo, thanks for having me. Yeah, I was the first one in. When the building first came down, I was the first one in. I did the first search and rescue. I have a background in heavy construction, so I did the bringing in all the equipment that you saw coming down FDR and through Manhattan, and positioning everything because we had collapsed train tunnels. And I was worried that, putting heavy equipment on the street, not knowing where the train tunnels were, we have collapse of roadways. So it was horrific morning and then night and days that followed, to the point that it put me in intensive care afterwards.
You did suffer.
And by the way, I'm literally, Bo, I'm sitting in a doctor's office right now.
Wow.
I mean, this could not be more, poetic. I can count the years that they didn't take something out of me in terms of operating on me because of what's running around in my body still from 9/11. So 9/11 is close to me. It's part of my life now, my survival period.
You said first one in. You were the first one in these buildings. Tell us for a moment. Tell us what you saw.
I came up out of the Midtown Tunnel, and the police radio started going off. And my driver had to calm the person down and say, "What are you saying?" And he's saying, "A plane went into the building." And I'm thinking a small plane. And I get up on the FDR coming down. I was going to a board meeting coming down, and I could see the World Trade Center, and I could see the big hole and the smoke coming out, and I knew it wasn't a small plane. So we turned on the lights and sirens. We got down there, and I got to the gate, and I said, "Where's the mayor?" And they said, "He's down there." And so I started pushing my way through a wall of people that was coming out of Lower Manhattan, coming up Broadway, and I'm pushing my way through them, and they're yelling, "The plane went into the building." That's what they were yelling to me, not realizing they were talking about a second plane. And when I got down there by St. Paul Chapel, I paused for a second. It felt like an eternity, but the reality was it was 2-3 seconds where I said, "You go down there, you may not come out. You might, I might die." I made the decision to go anyway. And when I got down there, I saw a commissioner. She was standing out there wearing heels, holding a police helmet. And I asked, "Where's Rudy?" And she pointed to the door. I went to go in. She grabbed me. And I said to her, "Rosemary, what's the matter? What's the matter?" And she just pointed up. Hindsight, I realized she was in shock. But she was trying to tell me people were jumping out the window. And as I was going into the building, look up to make sure I don't get hit by somebody.
Oh, my God.
And as I started to go into the building, the firemen and policemen started running out. And, Bo, you see firemen and policemen running towards you. You don't ask what's going on. You just join the run. They shot past me. I started running behind them, and I realized we ran past Rosemary. My driver and I, we went back and got her and put her into a police vehicle, and they all took off. We didn't know why they were running. In hindsight, I realized they heard that building breaking, and they got out of that lobby. And just as I pushed her in the car, she took off. The building started coming down. And I was right there before Broadway, and I got caught in the plume, and I hit a column at full speed running. I dropped to the ground like Mike Tyson hit me. Got back up, not realizing all the damage I did to my body. You know, I damaged my cervical in that hit, my knee, my leg. I've had surgeries on both. And I kept going, you know. And when I got back in, I went back in. As soon as the plume began to clear, I went back in. I climbed up on the debris, and I realized I was standing on top of a fire truck or ambulance. I could see the lights below me turning. And I knew as I was approaching the first time, people were on the sidewalk getting killed with the glass and stuff had come out of the building and hit people on the ground. So I knew I was standing on top of people. It was horrible. And, you know, later on you go in and you see body parts and you see this, and the only thing you can say to yourself is to keep going. You got to compartmentalize and put this someplace, because if you feel it, you're not going to be able to function. So it was a rough few months, and we didn't take a day off. I didn't take a day off until I was hospitalized in intensive care.
Well, Rudy,
I came out. Yes,
we have to cut it right here. But I'm just going to tell you, you have a remarkable story, and I want to invite you back on, if we can, maybe Saturday, to talk about this some more. If you're open to it, can we do that?
Yeah, I'm captured. I've just had surgery, so I can't move around. So yeah, I'll be available.
Okay, we will talk further on Saturday. Rudy, these are memories of September 11th, 24 years ago. This is just amazing, folks. Rudy Washington, and he'll be back with us this Saturday. Thank you. Stay right here, folks. Don't go away.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
We got Charlie in the neck. We got Charlie in the neck. Rose up neck. We got Charlie in the neck. We got Charlie in the neck. We got Charlie in the neck. Rose up neck. We got Charlie in the neck.
They got him in the neck. They got him in the neck. Whip. Like a samurai film. Oh, good news. Good news, everyone. Good news.
Ding dong, the witch is dead. To everyone saying that it was such a senseless, violent act, I want you to remind yourself that it was God's plan. I mean, really, it was actually his fault, because, like, he should have been wearing, like, a bulletproof neck brace or something. Like, I cannot believe he walked out the house without it. I mean, really, you have to be aware of what you're wearing in public so that, like, people don't target you and you don't become a victim. So I guess this is just another example of God's plan in action. It was not a senseless act of violence. This was God's plan. Happy hump day, y'all.
So I'm going to be very clear about this so that you know exactly where I stand. And I will say this with my whole entire chest. There are some people on this app that are sitting there saying, oh, you shouldn't wish death upon any person, no matter what side they're on. That. That. Charlie Kirk was a Nazi. He was a Nazi. And you know what kind of Nazi is the best Nazi? A dead one. Thank God that stain of a person is no longer in this world, and may his hell be being confronted by every single marginalized person that he hurt. That is what is wrong with you. That does not make me a bad person for thinking that bad people should not be in this world. So that Nazi, and have a great day.
So in light of this beautiful news, I would like to propose that we turn Charlie Kirk into a verb. For example, I think that Stephen Miller needs to be kirked.
It's time for Radio Royalty with James Golden and America's Princess of Policy, Princess Di.
Your Highness, I don't know what that is going on in this country. Excuse me, I'm so sorry.
I'm with you, James. I have to say that this has been a very difficult 24 hours about, and you know, the horrendous news that we got yesterday that Charlie had been assassinated has been compounded by the reaction overnight, that some of which you played. It is so deflating and discouraging, and it is so awful. And I just have looked for a place to land with all of that. And it is, I got a quote from C.S. Lewis, which I think applies. And he said, "My prayer is that when I die, all of hell rejoices that I am out of the fight." And I think that's what we have seen, is that all of hell, the demons that walk this earth, are rejoicing because Charlie Kirk, they think, is out of the fight. And so in my view, which is a biblical view, they do not have the last word. They do not win. But in the meantime, our eyes are open. We see the Bible is true. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And I think that oftentimes in America, we are involved in the political back and forth, and we are, you know, fighting those fights and having those debates. But the real battle, the real enemy, has been revealed in the aftermath of Charlie's death. Hell had no other alternative. They had to shut him up because he was bold in his faith. And one of the last interviews he had was an interviewer who asked him, "How do you want to be remembered?" And he said, "If I die, I want to be remembered for courage, for my faith. That would be the most important thing to me." And another interview he had, I'm sure you've seen, a student asked him, "I have 30 seconds left to live. I'm dying from a gunshot wound. What would you actually want to tell me if I have 30 seconds left to live?" And Charlie said, "In 30 seconds, you're about to meet eternal judgment. And so you've got a few seconds left. You're dying from a gunshot wound, and there's only one way you can get bailed out of that. It's not all the good things you did or the moral scorecard. It's whether or not you have Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. That's the only thing that's going to matter." And Charlie proclaimed boldly, without apology, the word of the Lord. And that is why the enemy hated him, because he told the truth with power and with confidence. And he had done his research and due diligence. He could answer every question as best as he could, and he did it very well. And it was an effective witness for the truth, not only on the greatness of America and the point of view he had politically, conservatism, but on the Word of God and the Bible. And he found an amazing receptive audience because, as he told Rush, and thanks for sending me the Limbo Letter interview in the February 2019 issue, he told Rush that what he found was students had never, ever heard these arguments and these points of view. They had been so cold and frightened by the lies told to them in their whole high school and college experience. They had never been presented with the other side of any issue. And so they were hungry for the truth. And that is why he was so effective, because he had the patience. And if you've ever seen him, and I'm sure you have, and talked to him, he never, ever lost his temper. Did you ever see him in a debate with one of these angry college students who would basically interrupt him and yell at him? He never lost his temper. He never swore. He just engaged with good cheer, and he credited Rush for that, the ability to answer and debate with good cheer. And so he never pulled his punches, and he always told the truth. And so that is what I want to do from now on. I want to be bold. I want to be courageous. I want to speak up when I'm in a social situation. In the past, people don't want to make waves. You don't want to have a problem in a social situation. I want to be like Charlie. I want to tell the truth. I want to lay it out with good cheer and firmness and with power, and to basically defend the faith. And so I just want to land there, because that is what the power of the Lord is.
You know, this has been a tough 24 hours, I got to tell you. I couldn't yesterday. I think I was numb. Yeah. I did not have an emotional reaction to almost anything. It was just numb. And it's starting to seep in today. It's what is so difficult, I think, more than anything else, is this fear that somehow or another it might be too late for America. And I say that not believing it's true, but there's a fear, because when you hear, and Diana, I have tons of these sound bites from these deranged people. I could do this the rest of the show, rest of the show tomorrow, the rest of the show Saturday. It is astounding how many of these individuals just feel comfortable with spewing hatred and spewing this vile. Now, also, Diana, you and I are old enough to remember certain things. I remember when John Kennedy was killed, President Kennedy was assassinated. Yep. I remember when Dr. King was assassinated that Thursday night. I remember almost a month to the day when Robert Kennedy was assassinated. I remember when, for me, Malcolm X assassination was a big deal. I remember, of course, we all remember where we were when 9/11 took place, and 24 years ago today. Throughout all of that, we saw a few voices here and there. There would be a few voices on the really, really fringe of society that might speak up and say something that was just ridiculously absurd and inappropriate. But I had someone ask me on social media last night, after I posted about that very thing, was it always like this? This was a youngster. Was it always like this in America? And what's your answer to the young people, Princess Di, who don't remember any of these things, even 9/11, because they weren't born yet or they were children?
No, it wasn't like this. This is new. This is an unleashed, and as I said, to me, it's a spiritual warfare. It is a demonic activity, and the masks are off, and the demons are basically speaking boldly because they think they have won. And that's the thing that we have to remember. We have the truth, and that's what they hated Charlie for. Our side sometimes gets impatient and says, what good are words? What good is it debating and trying and persuasion? That is what Rush did. It was persuasion. And so our side is right now going through, as you mentioned, emotional roller coaster. But I want us to land in the same place that Charlie was and to speak the truth with boldness. Now, at the same time, at the same time, our law enforcement, federal and state and local, have got to basically take action. And I cannot do that. So what I can do is I can credit the Lord. I can look to the Lord. I can trust the Lord, and I can say it out loud. That's what I can do. And I want to do it because that's what Charlie did. And his life was so inspiring, and it's so meaningful that, you know, to me, it's going to be that generation that is going to take Charlie's message. And if you have ever seen that statistics about the American men aged 18 to 29, in 2023, there were 26 points higher Democrats than Republicans in that age group. In 2025, there were 18 points higher Republicans. 2 years, 44-point swing due to Charlie Kirk and his persuasion and his telling the truth and his telling the story of the Lord God Almighty in every single one of his rallies. And people heard it, and people were changed, and that is unspoken now. In a lot of the memorials about Charlie, they're talking about his political positions, but he also preached.
You know, yes, he did. And I don't know, well, I've gone to some of the Turning Point events that have been held. In fact, I've spoken at a few of the Turning Points earlier on. And I'll tell you one thing, and I think I mentioned this yesterday. It was a cross-section of American youth. It wasn't as it's being portrayed in some places. There was literally a cross-section, all walks of life in that audience of his. And as you said, good spirit. And these kids, these young people, not kids, young adults, also had fun, but they were also engaged. And what do you see happening with the entire Turning Point USA movement now that Charlie has been murdered so viciously?
I think that is the right term for the country right now. He had the initial group, Turning Point USA. I think that USA is at a turning point, and he also has the other group, Turning Point Action. And so that is what his movement is going to be. It's going to be all of us. I'm sure there will be more leadership that comes up through that group. He's been training a lot of young people himself. But I also think we need to reach out and support that organization and take Charlie's inspiration and be bold in every interaction we have with everybody and tell the truth.
This is a good place where you talk about landing. I continue, in spite of this roller coaster that I've been on, I continue to feel optimistic about America. And I just want to play you one thing, Princess Diana, and have you react to this. And cut 18, Carlos, please.
This was the day that I decided I'm never voting Democrat again. I cannot stand with you people anymore. Although there's a lot of people on the right that I disagree with, looking at your comments, gross. I don't want anything to do with you. Find Christ.
Amen.
What do you think?
Well, wow. I want to quote from an interview he did 2 hours before he was killed. He said, one of my favorite verses is Romans 8:28, which says that God works all things for good for those who love him. It's a very freeing and liberating verse for those of us that are Christians, because we believe that when things can be really bad, God is working it for his good. And that brings me to our national motto, and that is where we land ultimately. In God we trust.
Amen to that, Princess Diana. I'm looking forward to speaking with you on Saturday. I'm going to continue to play some of these things. I'm going to continue. I really had to think about whether I wanted to play some of this filth.
Yep.
But I think it's necessary for people that are not in the social media world to hear what I wish they could see these people, because that's also a part of the story too.
100%.
And why is it
James, also, they are going to deny it a year from now, they're going to claim that never happened. They never celebrated the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And so, therefore, I think it's important that we keep it on the record so our eyes are open and we know the spiritual warfare that we're fighting.
Absolutely. Well, Princess Di, thank you so much. I do appreciate it. We will catch up with you on Saturday. By the way, before you leave, I got to take a break, but on Saturday, I want to talk about 9/11 too, because here we are. We're going to be coming up on a quarter century afterwards. So maybe on Saturday we can just spend just a few moments talking about that as well.
I would love, especially talking about Falling Man, that photo that they have tried to squelch for 24 years.
Wow. Princess Diana, thank you. James Golden, Snerdley here. Don't go away.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
You know, on 9/11, we vowed to never forget. Please help America keep that promise. Donate $11 a month to the Tunnel to Towers Foundation at T2T.org. That's T, the number 2, T.org. My friends, fastest hour in American media wraps up for this day, September 11th, the 24th anniversary of the terrorist attack that changed our lives, many of us. May God bless, protect each and every single one of you, your families, your loved ones. Love and gratitude for your being here with me and allowing me to be with you. These are difficult days, my friends, difficult days. God willing, and that is always the case, we're back tomorrow for the already it's Friday, again, edition of Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. Until then, my friends, I bid you adieu. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. You can hear Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour weekdays at 4 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?